The question of whether or not extraterrestrials exist has already been answered. And that answer is an unequivocal yes. That answer is not just for me, but for every individual on the planet. That question has been asked millions and millions of times throughout the course of history. The answer was yes the first time the question was asked, and it still is yes all the times it's been asked thereafter. The problem is not whether or not there is enough evidence to prove that extraterrestrials exist, because the evidence is overwhelming. The problem, as I see it, is that we are not fully examining the evidence that we've already collected. Case in point, the video you're watching right now is of a small circular-shaped craft, and by small I mean less than a mile in diameter, that I managed to capture in June of 2010. Not realizing the importance of this video, I showed it to a few people and then put it away for about 2.5 years. The video's importance would have never been realized had it not been for their insistence that I pay attention to what's being conveyed to me. The reason I stated that it was their insistence that caused me to study this is because after the first recording in 2008, they began to visit me on a regular basis until I took down the camera on top of my house and the cameras that were positioned looking at the sky. Once I began to realize the importance of the video, I literally started to dissect it frame by frame, looking for anything that could help me to see what I believed they were trying to show me. Once I had examined a few of the frames, I felt like they had handed me a key that unlocked the door to a brand new reality. I was now the first human not only to see the inside of one of their spacecraft, I would be the first to show what a few of the extraterrestrials really looked like as well. There were all kinds of beings, statues, and even smaller ships inside of the rooms on this craft. But this craft didn't fly to this planet on its own. There was a much larger ship that brought it here. Its reflection could be seen at the beginning of this video. As you see the craft begin to fly upward towards space, there were other crafts there waiting, ensuring its safety as it flew back to the main craft. I watched it for as long as I could, then I got down from the roof and returned inside. When I was first introduced to this, I didn't think very much about it at the time. I'd witnessed a lot of encounters that I couldn't explain, but I shrugged most of them off as being something either I didn't understand or I just didn't see clearly. It wasn't until December of 2008 that I decided to delve into this a little bit further. I guess what I needed was some kind of evidence that I could record and be able to show someone before I decided to take that leap of faith and dive into this rabbit hole. I thought I understood what I was getting myself into when I decided to research UFOs, but I had no idea about the amount of ridicule and harassment experiencers and ufologists received. One thing was certain, I was certainly about to find out. I had seen enough evidence in my area to convince me that something unusual was definitely taking place, and that it was also of an extraterrestrial nature. But when I decided to go out and film the moon, I had no idea I would capture anything, let alone something as amazing as what I was seeing through my viewfinder. That band of light stretched like a ribbon for miles across the lunar surface, and I noticed that it was also changing colors. But what was it? I'd observed the moon before, and I'd never witnessed an event like this. I wondered if anyone else was seeing this. Maybe in another part of town or even possibly another city. And just maybe they might have posted it online somewhere or reported it to someone. But I should have realized that even if someone did see it, they may find themselves in the same boat I found myself in, one with little to no credibility. I knew that trying to figure this out wasn't going to be easy, but I would never have imagined that it would take years to get an idea of what was happening on the moon. Meanwhile, the extraterrestrial visitations were beginning to ramp up around our home. We had already installed a video surveillance system around the house for security reasons, but the cameras were now also capturing something we hadn't expected. It would have been easy to dismiss a few strange or odd events, but this was happening at least 2 or more times a week. Some people were suggesting that these were merely insects flying past the camera. I would agree with that if what I saw could be described as flying. I never saw anything that I could describe as wings on any of these objects, at least not the flappable kind. Then there was a day that we saw a cross in front of our home. Maybe I should also state it wasn't burning and it wasn't in the front yard, but it was in the sky a few hundred feet above the trees. Now I could have took it as a sign and left it at that, but that wasn't in my nature. I had to determine what this was and why it was here. Enlarging the photograph gave me a better view of the cross. Now I could not only just see the cross, I could also see what looked like people hanging out at the top and in back of it. I could also see something I was familiar with. After seeing so many crafts like this before, I knew what this was. It was a face. A long, slender, alien-looking face that could be seen directly behind the cross. I now knew that this was extraterrestrial at least. But as to what meaning or significance I should attach to it was still escaping me.